Hello and welcome to another episode of Interview with a Schizophrenic. I'm your host, Duncan Samra-Singer, and today I have the great pleasure of having Byron with me. Byron is from Michigan. He is 36 years old. He has a diagnosis of schizoaffective, and that may be under review. So welcome to the show, Byron. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. So the first question I'm going to ask, it's always the same question, just to give you I want you to give a history of your mental health journey. You can start whatever age you want, and sort of give a summary, just to take us to the present day. So if you'd like to do that, you can take breaks. You can talk for as long as you want or for short as you want. I can always ask more questions.
Absolutely. And I guess where it all started was when I was about 23 years old. That's when I first started getting help through the mental health, psychologists and psychiatrists and all the like. And I failed a course at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor 4 times in a row. And it's because I was having Tourette's tics and I'd have to leave the class early from being such a disruption. It was like
So
400 plus. I had Tourette's syndrome.
Tourette's.
Yeah. And I still have it to this day. It used to be once every 30 seconds I go and bump my head, but now it's about once a month. And unfortunately, I beat myself up when I have my Tourette's tics. It's like very violent, and it's only to myself. It's self-inflicted, but there's a history behind that too. If you can remember to ask, or I'll talk about it later on. But yeah, I was the reason why I was 23 years old before I got help was because my family does not believe in mental health help. I'm going to say everything about my family today is alleged. I don't want to get sued, but if they do try to sue me, I have witnesses that can, get me that can spot me for slander or libel. It'd be slander in this case because it's vocal.
Yeah.
But my family, I grew up in a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect. My brother was a bully my whole life. My older brother by about 3 years. He'd keep a tally owed of how many beatings were expected. Like the highest it ever got was 47. But he would say a beating that would be owed for later when he'd get away with it is what he was trying to do there. And if I didn't lay down perfect and take the strike, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 strikes, and then he'd just say, like, you got to do that over again. And then we do it over again. And it created a state of learned helplessness. And for a while there, I would just sit there numb and take it. It was actually when he tickled me for about 3 or 4 hours straight one time that I learned to tune out the pain and pleasure. And in this case, it was pain, obviously. But where am I going with this? Let's see.
That's like torture, isn't it?
It was torture my whole life, man. Like I grew up, my life wasn't free until I was 30 years old, and it took that long. And they always say it gets better. It doesn't always get better. It's like you got to make it get better. And I met my wife when I was in my 30s, and I was able to escape my family at that point. And it was rough. Like I had food, non-perishable food and water in my closet and cups to piss in. Excuse me. But I had to hold in my poop all day some days. Like it was rough.
Eventually, that's criminal. That sounds criminal.
I know it is. If CPS knew what was going on, then I would have been taken away for sure. And I had a friend in Catholic school that saw the bruises about a quarter of the time. I didn't want to show them all the time because it would just ruin the mood of the day. But sometimes I had to show them my bruises just to air them out, like just to let someone know that this shit's really going on with me. And I usually always got beaten in the hair, underneath my hair and beneath my clothes. Allegedly, of course, I'm saying all this. And that's because it hide the bruises. And if there was a few times it showed up on my face, and the school kind of caught wind of it a little bit, but it was a Catholic school, so they're pretty authoritarian there and kept it under. Everything was buried and swept underneath the rug when I grew up. And my parents knew. They were neglectful. I believe my dad may have Tourette's syndrome as well because he likes to clear his throat in a certain way. My mom, I believe, is bipolar. My brother, I think, if this is even possible, he's a psychopath to the general public, but he's a sociopath with me because I can get underneath his skin. And
It's like family. I was thinking about the other day. Family is just a name for folk who can abuse you and get away with it. You know?
family is who you make. That's who your real family is. I
Yeah.
haven't talked to my brother since a Royce da 5'9" concert in June 2016. So it's been over 6 years now, and I haven't seen my family, any other family member, since January 2019. And I have my reasons for that, obviously. And it kept getting worse, and I thought it would get better. There's a lot of Stockholm syndrome, a lot of different things that make you think that you can change other people, and they're not. If they're not willing to change, they're not welcome in my life anymore. And I tell them they need therapy, and they think I'm the only one that needs therapy, and like I'm just a black sheep or whatever. But I let it slide. Like, what am I going to do? I sometimes think that they have changed. Like, it's wavy. Like the 5 to 7 stages of grief. And sometimes I want to believe that they've changed, and so they'll write an email to me and I'll write back, but it's always ugly. My parents they stole $50,000 from me, allegedly, from my UGMA account. It was partially a trust fund and partially also money I put in myself with my own hard earned money, and it was just growing and everything. And I thought I wasn't supposed to get it till I was 32 years old, because my parents are such like pessimists in the sense that they thought that I'd be divorced by the time I was 32, therefore gaining extra sums of money to help me financially wherever I would be in life. But I got married at 32, and I realized I wasn't getting the money, and they were laundering, allegedly. Like, they signed my name like in all capital letters. I don't sign my name that way, like if I look at the paperwork and that. And it's ugly. And like I've confronted my father about this, and he just says, "Oh, we paid this for you, this," and like it's like, okay, I see how this is.
Yeah,
Like
emotional blackmail.
oh, it's whatever you want to call it, man. It's yeah. But I've been rambling in your ear for looks like 6 minutes here, so
Yeah, so I mean that's another criminal case, isn't it? Really, I mean, I guess you're worried about what they're going to do to you, but
only for a little while.
yeah,
When I have enough money saved up, I already do right now, but like I'm willing to take them to court, and they'd lose their ass. I already know it. I have witnesses and stuff, but it's rough. Having to say allegedly all the time, it makes it seem goofy, but I have to say
no,
it.
no, 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 that's fine. So this obviously precipitated some severe mental health condition. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I have a few conditions. I've broke through some of them. I reckon. I don't know. I haven't been diagnosed in a while, but throughout the course of the years, I'll go in chronological order. At 23, I was diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome because I kept having those tics. Later on, I was diagnosed with severe anxiety and severe depression. From there, I had an episode in Chicago where I tried to live with my friend, and that didn't turn out well because I moved to Pilsen at some point in Chicago, which is off the Pink Line if you ride the loop there. And I just lost my mind. I was drinking 18 plus beers a day and smoking weed and losing my mind. And they threw me in the mental hospital from that one. I've been in the mental hospital in and out on 12 different occasions at 13 different hospitals, and most of them were in like a year period when I moved to Chicago, and even before then I was suicidal and things like that. But again, back to the mental health diagnoses, whatever you want to call them. I've been labeled as you know Tourette's, severe depression, severe anxiety. Later on, it was schizophrenia because I admitted of my hallucinations. Then eventually I was called bipolar, and from there I've had schizoaffective disorder, which is like a hybridization of the two, of bipolar and schizophrenia. But I've talked to my psychologist. I don't have her anymore. I have a different one because I had to move. But she suspects I'm schizo-typal because apparently my parents knew I was autistic my whole life, and that hurts me so much because it would have changed my life if I had more time to take tests and things like that, and even just get help, from special ed. It's not bad. And but I'm likely autistic because my son, we haven't gotten him academically evaluated yet, but he's on the spectrum, and my wife might be autistic too. It's just an autistic family here, and we're real cool with it. But it's like we gotta realize that we don't act like the social norms.
Yeah, I think uh, autism is becoming more in the spotlight now than it was, say, 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
or even 30 years ago.
They've even discovered that if you have ADHD, Tourette's, like these are all signs that you have um, autism. And there's other signs too, like that people. I think they say it's 1 in 54 people have autism. It wouldn't faze me a bit if it was 1 in 10. I just think most people live their lives functionally enough where they don't ever need to get diagnosed or anything.
So can you tell me what is schizo-typal?
So from what I understand, you can look it up online. You can take surveys on it, and I took like a 9 question survey with my psychologist, and I got 8 of them, and you only needed 4 or 5 to be considered as such. I haven't been diagnosed by a psychiatrist or neurologist yet, but to my understanding, it's basically schizophrenia hybridized with autism, and the only real difference is, thankfully, I'm able to with schizo-typal having autism, you're able to deduce that sometimes your hallucinations are fake or that they aren't real, and you can just squander that belief and not believe that, delusion, hallucination, whatever it may be. And I have techniques that, like my Tourette's, I virtually cured it. I know it sounds terrible to get beating myself up once a month, but it's better than it used to be. And I used to meditate 15 minutes twice a day for 3 months, and that got rid of it, like a lot of it. And it started dying down to about once a week, and now it's once a month. And yeah, I can't recommend enough meditation. Just working on your breathing, working on clearing your head, and not feeling guilty over having racing thoughts. Like just allow
Yeah.
them to exist and let them pass by. And for schizotypal, what helped me fight my schizophrenia the most, or whatever I'm labeled, just don't call me late for dinner. Call me whatever you
Mhm.
want. But
Mhm.
what helped me deduce a lot of things is I call them anchor points. I don't know what they call them in the professional field, but let's say I don't know if I'm dreaming or if I'm awake or if I'm hallucinating. It's usually when I've been up for a long time, I'm under a lot of stress, perhaps drug induced, which is not so much of a thing anymore. I haven't drank in 3 years, but I look at my surroundings and I go, okay, I'm looking at this carpet right now. If I were in a dream, I just say, okay, that's carpet and move on. But if this is reality, I can look deep into that carpet and see textures that my mind is not able to imagine on its
Yeah.
own. And that's what I call anchoring points. Like it can be any sense of your body, just. And then I got stories. Like I used to think there people were following me in the past. I've had paranoia and proanoia symptoms where I had symptoms where I was elated and it was dangerous. Like I thought I was Jesus at one point, and like I don't even and I used to be. I was raised Roman Catholic. I became atheist in my 20s because I'm a chemist. I studied a lot of like with a lot of science folk, and that rubbed off on me, which is good. Like I think atheists are great people, and and eventually the closest label I can label myself as is pantheist, which is like the belief that everything, it's like a light switch. It's basically, if you're atheist, you believe nothing's God, nothing of that sort of exists. But I flipped the switch in that sense, and I believe that everything is God. Like I see
Yeah.
God in a lump of
Yeah.
soil
That's
and
pretty good.
anything. Yeah. And when I was, see, like one of the last times I was, like the 8th or 9th time I was put in the mental hospital, because they thought I thought I was Jesus, and like I had no problem, but no one sat down and talked to me about it. The psychiatrist there made fun of me. In fact, kept asking what my name is just to try to get a rise out of me.
I think most schizophrenic go through a phase where they think they're Jesus. I've seen it so many times, and
Yeah.
it's terrible that a medical professional can take it in that manner, because it is actually a serious delusion.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
you know,
If you think you can perform miracles and things like that, that's dangerous. I didn't believe that. I actually have a kind of a absurd belief in Jesus, and like and it doesn't matter. It's what I was raised in. Like it could have been Muhammad, it could have been anybody. But like for me, I think personally, Jesus was either an ordinary man or maybe an extraterrestrial if he was that powerful.
yeah,
Like I don't know how he could have all those powers, but like I think honestly, Jesus was an ordinary man. This is my beliefs. This does not go with other people necessarily. But like I feel that every one of his miracles was uh a game of telephone. Did you ever play that game in kindergarten or when you were younger in school? Like there's this gossip game where you play where you say one word into a person's ear and then
yes, yes.
yeah.
Chinese. We call it Chinese whispers.
Okay. And yeah, so I believe that Jesus, every one of his miracles, if you look at them, they're a metaphor. So he could turn water into wine. That to me is a metaphor that he's like the most social person that could ever exist. Like he could turn water into wine. Like he can make people want to talk and get them going in a party. And like, any of them walking on water, to me that means like, oh, he was unstoppable, and if you believed in him, he you would be able to do whatever he was said he could do. I don't actually believe he walked on water, and this is what I believed back then. I had these beliefs where Jesus was just an ordinary man, but an extraordinary person. Like he tried his best to be at least hypocritical as possible, like to be a good human being. And and even when he died and was raised 3 days after death, that could be a metaphor too. Maybe he was just dead, but like the Romans thought that he was not going to be able to have popularity, and if anything, it made him into a martyrdom, like a martyr. And in terms of all that, like I'm that's mass delusion. I think every person on this planet is mentally ill in some facet. I'm
Yeah.
serious.
No, you could be right. You could be right.
And
Yeah.
I honestly think that there's mass delusion. I think a lot of religions are delusional. And I'm not bashing people, because you need to grip onto something to get through this life. It's pretty rough. But I don't even know what I was going to say about it, but like, I don't know. For me, it's like I started believing in pantheism, or whatever you want to call it. I don't believe in isms either. Like I have a saying. I say, take your isms, any of them, any belief, patriotism, any of it. Take your isms, schism them with a prism. Like
Hmm.
put a prism up to it, and you can see the different lights shining off it,
Yeah,
the
that's
different
good.
arrays of lights.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
that's how we know what the stars are made out of. Like
Hmm.
from far away, we take prisms to them, and we can see that they're mostly hydrogen and helium, at least on the
Hmm.
outside.
Hmm.
But that's fascinating to me.
That's good, man. Yeah, I think you come across as somebody who's very lucid, quite clear thinking, and very thoughtful. I think from what you've gone through, you've got your own unique perspective on life and how it relates to you. So yeah, that's good, man.
Thank you.
Um, you know, yeah, pantheism. I'm kind of spiritual, non-religious, but I have had a Christian background. But I'm in spiritual, which means I've got a firm belief in spirit.
Hmm.
Um, but I do like pantheism because I relate to that because I do also believe that God, you can see spirit everywhere. Everywhere is an example of spirit. It's just that I would say that, say, like a forest or a waterfall is
Hmm.
a that's pure. That's the most beautiful aspect of spirit. But you can see it everywhere because we're all part of it. So I
I,
do
I
like that.
I agree. And what really firmly I mean, you can call me whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever. You call me communist, even. I don't care. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. But like, um, the reason why I identify partially with pantheism in particular is when I looked up this image, and this is homework for anybody out there listening. Like Google image search or whatever your favorite search engine is, and type in internet server, known universe, and mind, just like a brain dendrite, and like you'll see they're identical in shape. They're if you like, we don't even know what the known universe really looks like. It's only theoretical, but if you keep pulling back and pulling back and pulling back away from all the galaxies, then you see that the shape is roots. It's all shaped like roots. And yeah, I got weird beliefs.
Yeah,
I got.
I think the fact that you talk about space and you've obviously got an interest um, in astronomy and the universe, I also find that fascinating. And the great thing about it is that it takes us away from this planet and our existence. And there's something so much bigger than us, so much greater,
Oh
and
yeah,
so much more beautiful.
it's
So
humbling.
it's
It's
humbling.
humbling.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
humbling. Um, so I think that is a that is a great thing to be interested in, and yeah, I also that is something that which I find fascinating as well. Um,
I can tell you something that'll blow your mind, and I'm a chemist, and like I'll tell you, it's the same thing. Chemistry. There's this movie called The Fountain, and it's directed by Darren Aronofsky. It's got Hugh Jackman in it and Rachel Weisz, I think's her name. She's a U of M grad too. I forget what her name was. I'm sorry, but anyways, the movie's called The Fountain, and it was a graphic novel originally, and they were low on budget, and they're like, how are we going to film these like nebula outer space visuals? And what they ended up doing was grabbing a microscope and doing chemical reactions with it, because the
Cool.
chemicals that are in the microscope are the same what's in the universe, and it's
Okay.
beautiful visuals. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily the greatest movie ever. I like it a lot, but some people I can understand not liking it. It's very strong. It's about cancer and death and things like
Okay.
that. But very emotional movie. So just a heads up there, if you're in a low place, maybe not watch it right now.
Yeah,
But
that's a good. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good movie. And what I wanted to say is, let's imagine the nucleus of a hydrogen atom being the size, just the proton and neutron being the size of a marble, just an ordinary toy marble, and we got something that's smaller than a grain of sand, the electron orbiting around it. Okay, now imagine this is spinning so fast, just spherically in this orbital. It's spinning so fast that you can't see the nucleus, and so my question to you is, this electron, it's a grain of sand that's going so fast around the nucleus that you can't even see the nucleus. How far away do you think they are in terms of that ratio? It's this, in reality. Like, so I'm saying the nucleus is a marble, and the electron small in a grain of sand, or the width of a hair. Guess how far away they are.
Um, when I was picturing it in my mind, I was thinking in terms of like millimeters, but I
Okay,
think
you
you're
ready?
gonna. Yeah, go
You
on.
ready? It's 2 miles. So
Okay.
it's like, what, you times that by 1.6, isn't that the difference for kilometers? So it's a huge distance.
Yeah.
And the reason why I talk about this metaphor is, like, that's what happens a lot even out there with the mental health, system. When I was a chemist, whenever we were able to deduce what was in, a sample, we had to drown it with something that was known.
Yeah.
Either helium if it were a gas, because that's an inert gas, it doesn't react with anything, or like an alcohol, or some sort of solvent that we know what that molecule looks like, but then it just completely isolates the other molecule, what the makeup of the intended molecule is. So it'd be like a 1 to 100 ratio. You put one of the unknown substance and then 100 of the unknown or more, and like, there it is on a graph, because you're able to see it out. And so what I'm trying to get at with these two metaphors is that um, the reason why we see stars at night is because they're so far apart. There's no difference between the electron orbiting the nucleus versus a planet orbiting the sun,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and that's all the stars, it's all the galaxies, and that goes on and on and on forever. But like, it takes 8 minutes for the sun rays to hit us, so the sun's
Yeah.
already gone by 8 minutes ago,
Mm.
like where it was.
Yeah.
And like, if you think about it and you look up in the sky, the night sky, there's red shift, blue shift. That's a whole conversation about how
Yeah.
old the
Because
universe is.
you're actually seeing time, aren't you? When you look at space, you're seeing
Yeah,
layers
you
of
can see the
time.
history of the Big Bang,
Yeah.
and that's just one. Like, who knows how many multiverses there are, or
Yeah.
whatever we live in.
Yeah.
If there's parallel universes and everything, we
Mm.
know nothing right now. And that's
Mm.
another humbling, exciting thing to consider about in the field of science or any of it, is that we are, just like Carl Sagan kind of said. He said we're dipping our toes in the ocean's shore, and the water seems inviting. And it's like, man, I'll tell you, that's what I get excited about every day, is just knowing that I can be alone. I got to be comfortable being alone sometimes, but
Mm.
there are people out there for everyone out there. And that's what I just want to say to the viewers. If you're schizophrenic, or you have some sort of mental illness, you're not alone.
Yeah. We're
Read
not
up,
alone.
read up Wikipedia on your diagnosis, and like, whatever prescriptions you're given. I made that mistake once. I was given Depakote, an anti-seizure medication, and that was the only medicine I never looked up on Wikipedia, and it almost killed me. And then I was given another anti-seizure medication, Trileptal, and that almost killed me too. I lost hair. I was like, I'd stand up and faint sometimes, and I had to stop taking it. But I'm willing to share. I'm on Abilify now, which is like an antipsychotic and like a mood stabilizer for me. I'm not in any antidepressant, because I fight through a lot of my depression. I really am not that I'm depressed when I'm in a state of mania for a very long time, and then I'm crashing. That's when I'm at my worst. But I know how to get through it now, and I just look for anything that finds me gratitude. That includes just being able to breathe, being able to talk, being able to walk on my own. Anything, you can find gratitude in anything, the smallest things, and that could help me snap out of my deepest funks.
I feel you, man. I feel you, and it's good. And Byron, I want to ask you about your creativity, because that is we did discuss it online. I just want to, can you go through what you've been creating as part of your as part of to raise awareness and your therapy and just for entertainment?
Oh yeah. Well, I started out. I remember when I was 3 years old, I drew these Ninja Turtles, because I was into them back then, and I drew them. And I said I could do this for the rest of my life. And there's been multiple occasions where my dad said I'll never be an artist, I'll never be a cartoonist, and somehow I am both. Like I do it anyway. And I've painted photorealistic paintings before. I draw abstract pieces. I draw mandalas. I've drawn, I want to say, over 20,000 faces, and I mean like not just the same face, like, and I do that too, but as like memes. But like I also have drawn 20,000 different plus like contorted weird faces, and I had to get. I was like, nowadays what I use is this website called, I think it's thispersondoesnotexist.com, and it's artificial intelligence constructing a face for me. Like that is like this person doesn't exist in real life, and they just make a fake
Yeah,
person
yeah,
on
I've
the
heard
screen
about
for you.
that. Yeah, heard about
Yeah, that helps me as a reference because I don't want to get caught drawing a celebrity and getting sued over. Like, what's
that.
his name? I think it was Shepard Fairey.
Hmm.
I think the guy that drew the Hope poster for Obama, he got sued when he drew that Hope poster, and like
Okay.
from the photographer, and
Hmm.
Obama used it for his campaign. I'm not getting political or anything. I'm just saying what happened. It was weird. But yeah, and so I draw and paint. I've drawn and paint my whole life, and then in 2010, I met Logic on the street in Chicago right after he was done being called Psychologic, and I have a whole zine on that, and I'm willing to share that with you if you want to put it in your description or not. I
Yeah,
just think it's
I'm
cool.
gonna put all the links in the description.
Okay.
Um,
Um. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, so that I, I I think that's great that you're creative, and that's kind of mind blowing your artistic level. I think it'd be fantastic if you can share some of the art if you have a link for that. That would be because
Yeah.
that's
Probably the best place to go is WooHooPoopoo. And like
okay,
I'm on YouTube, and I got a .com, but it's pretty ancient. I got to change it
okay,
up a little bit. But I got a good Instagram and YouTube going under, and it's WOOHOOPOOPOO. It's double O's all around. It worked for Google.
okay. We'll,
That's
we'll
how I
put
tell
we'll put
people.
the link in the description. That's fine.
Sure. And
And also you mentioned you wanted to read some poetry that you've written.
yeah,
Um,
and I started writing poetry. I wrote a little bit in high school, nothing like just for assignments, and I did pretty well back then. I didn't think anything of it, but when I first met Logic on the streets of Chicago, I was wearing a mask, and he asked who my favorite rapper was. I said MF Doom, and he told me I could rap, and we talked for hours about it. And like, I didn't really believe him at first. I didn't believe in him until he started spitting some lines. I was like, man, this guy is fire. And I didn't believe myself until 7 years later. I started writing poetry in February 2017. So it's
yeah.
been about 5 years now, and I can rap, I can freestyle, but I got to be careful freestyling because if I freestyle, sometimes I get like an obsessive compulsive disorder with it.
Okay.
It landed me in the hospital one time because I couldn't stop rapping. Like I couldn't
Okay.
stop rapping at everything. But excuse me. So I'll read one here. This one's getting published in Detroit's poetry magazine next issue for spring, summer, or summer and fall. I can't remember, but it's the next issue of Detroit Riverwise magazine. Shout
Hmm.
outs to Val. Thanks for hooking me up. And this one's called America, What is Beautiful. And so the book I'm releasing, I didn't talk about that. I'll talk about that real quick. I'm releasing this book called Red on the Line, and it's a play on the phrase read between the lines and like just like blood. It's written in black, white,
Yeah.
and red. And
Hmm.
the colors are only that. It's only black and white and red all over, which is an old joke here. I don't even think like Zoomers would get the joke because newspapers have been gone. But the riddle used to be what's black and white and red all over, and like you'd say a newspaper because you read it, it's black and white and it's red all over. But like I played with that phrase between read between the lines, and I wanted to make something that's black and white and red all over. And so what I did is I have 101 poems for this book, and it's going to be out by September. I'm giving the
Nice.
first copy to Logic. I'm going to go see him September 1st. I got really good seats. I blew a lot of money on it, and like I'm going to make sure he gets this book if it's the last thing I do. But I mean, I'm going to contact security in that. I've done this stuff before, but like this is my first real finished piece, like that I can actually mass produce and sell. And it's Red a Line, and I'll just read this poem that's getting published. And it's the image is a Benjamin Franklin $100 bill in black, white, and red. And the name of the poem is America, What is Beautiful. And so here we go. Divide and conquer, divide bonder. We do as America, not seeing how we conned here. We are farther than genocide and slavery. Turning blind eyes, it's all me, me, me. The truth is wrong among the misinformed and distracted. The truth is wrong among the misdone-informed, people of plastic. For-profit prisons have slaves. There's Mexican children in camps. Politicians deem brave while immediate actions are traps. The day will come shortly when the global economy collapses. Thank God at last, I say, unless death's designed as massive masses. Get back or be passive. Mask it. And that's that one.
Mhm. Yeah, it sounds kind of like the way you spoke it was kind of like a rap as well.
Yeah,
Kind of it's like a got that sort of beat to it. But I know, and
I
also
might
it.
I might make them into raps in the future. I got a pen
Mm,
pal in London that I'm trying to make an album with at some point, but
mm.
that's all in the future road. And like, I hope Logic picks up on this. But you know what? I did this for me. Even if this book flops, I don't care. I did it for me.
I read online recently that I think there's been like 50 million books ever published in the history of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very small percentage of books compared to people. So it's an achievement just to get a book out there.
Thank
Um,
you.
and then I really do think that and you never know what's going to happen. It's kind of exciting. So you never know
Yeah,
what's going to happen.
I was talking to two people yesterday randomly, and two separate occasions, and they wanted to buy my book, and I just didn't have it out yet. So that's a good sign
Yeah,
for me, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yep, and I got
Okay,
other poems too, but it's whatever's best for time, you know.
yeah, Byron. I think we're going to wrap it up here. But what I want to ask you um, is what kind of music would you like me to put onto this episode? What type of music would you like?
I like lo-fi hip hop. Shout outs to Dilla and Nujabes, the founders of that
Okay,
genre of music. That
okay,
is, there's a whole book called Dilla Time that came out this year, and like the guy invented a new sort of beat making that's off the beat. You know, like
yeah, that's kind of like chill music, isn't it? I find it on YouTube.
yeah,
That
yeah, and
stuff,
I
yeah.
can rap over that.
Mm,
I can rap over boom bap beats and all that, but like
mm.
it's whatever you want to put on, man. I like
Yeah,
it's.
I'll be able to find something like that. That's fine. It was a real pleasure talking to you, Byron.
Thank you, Duncan.
Um,
Thanks for having me on.
you know, um, you're welcome to come back for another episode. Um, I don't know when that will be, but be stay patient, and great to hear from more from you, because I think you really got a lot to say, and you've got an incredible journey, and I think it's an inspiration to anybody that's listening or watching this. So it's been a real pleasure, man.
I'm honored, and thank you for all the compliments. It's something I used to have a hard time taking, but I just soak it in because it shows a vulnerability on your end too. And I just got to say thank you. This podcast is wonderful. It's a great way for people to reach out and humanize our mental illness.
Cheers, Brian. Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
Thank you.